Alright, so on to marking the frets. So what I'm doing is, just to be on the safe side, I am looking at the overall scale length again. Alright, we're going to be good there. So now it's just a matter of positioning where we want that nut to be. I've got a mark already on there for about where we need the nut. Yeah, we may be able to eke out a 23rd fret here. We'll see what we get. Okay, you want to start with a sharp pencil. You want these to be exact here. I should have done this before, so I'm not wasting video space doing it. I guess I can always splice it out later. Okay. So this will be our nut. So I'm going to line it up along the center line, and I'm going to start marking center points. And the river running down this line is a border between what's yours and mine. As you're marking these, there's something that you have to keep in mind. When you have a grain pattern, especially one, so our grain patterns are going this way, but the curly part of the maple has lines going this way. When you're drawing these lines straight, square at 90 degrees, it may not look like it's straight, because if your lines are slanted, then it's going to make your true drawn lines feel like they're slanted. Always trust your equipment. You don't necessarily have to mark it in 3 spots. You can use just a square, straight edge. I like to do this only because if you happen to have a square that's just a little bit off, it can happen. This is kind of a fail-safe assurance that you're getting consistency along each side of the fretboard, and it's not going to hurt anything, but you will notice it in pitch if you have a really good trained ear for hearing if a note is sharp or flat. The intonation, if these are off, slanted just a little bit, you're going to hear going up the fretboard. You don't want to deal with that. So it doesn't hurt to be overly cautious. So I did it that way. Now, all you have to do is connect your lines, and you have your fret marks. Assuring you have a good sharp pencil gives you very good, tight, accurate lines. There is also calculations if you're doing a custom scale length, which can be done. In most cases, the longest scale length that you're going to get is 25.5 inches. I believe most every Fender is 25.5 inches, except their Mustang guitars. They're shorter, usually a little shorter. Gibson Les Pauls, a lot of people love those guitars. I'm not as much of a fan because they're a shorter scale length and a very bulky neck. Beautiful sound, but the longer the scale length, the more sustain you usually get out of it. And that's a theory in everything. If you have a really short rubber band across your fingers and you flick it, it's not going to vibrate as long as this one that's this long and you flick it. There's a luthier that I know. He's a certified luthier, and I got in a debate with him one day about it because he said that the shorter the string, the more sustain. And he must have just been confused, but I prefer a longer scale length. Anyway, to stop rambling on, my point is that if you wanted to do a custom scale length, maybe 26 inches scale length, to figure out the frets, there is a formula. You can put in an Excel spreadsheet and it'll tell you how far spaced your fret should be. You can find that online. Just type in scale length calculator, I guess you could do. Okay, that looks good. We've got our nut mark here. Okay, so the next step now, we're going to cut the fret slots, and you can do it a multitude of different ways. I'm going to use a radial arm saw. It has a specific blade that's the right thickness for the fret slots. You can't use a regular table saw blade. It's too thick. That's like an 1/8 inch. This is one I got from Stuart McDonald, guitar supplier, and it will cut it at the right width. The only other thing is you have to figure out the depth. They're not going to stay this way. We're going to have to recut them and fine-tune them to depth. after we radius the fretboard, because obviously when we radius, we're changing the depth throughout the width. But this is just to get the initial cut on it, the initial slot. So I'm going to go cut those. I'll set up a camera so I can show you that, and then we'll come back, and after that we'll start radiusing. Okay, so fret slots are done. We didn't do the last two just to make sure that they don't chip out when we cut the contour to the body here, to the actual neck blank. We don't want that to chip away. This board, as of right now, is a lot more flexible because everything's kind of cut down, so it bends a lot more easy. So just be careful when you're working with it from here on out. Until the frets go in and they re-solidify the surface structure, it's a little bit more fragile. So what we're going to do right now is we are going to radius the fretboard. Right now, everything is flat here. It's a flat surface. We need to get it to a radius so that it's easier to play with the fingers. And there's a lot of different radius. Radii, I guess, might be the plural for it. Radii. We're going with the 7 1/4 radius. Hopefully, I don't know if you can kind of see that. That's the radius we're going to make the surface. This is specific to what the customer wanted. So what we're going to do is use a sanding beam. That is 7 1/4 radius. So 7 1/4 there. And we've got the same pitch on there. Put sandpaper on the surface here. I'm going to use double-sided tape, and I'm going to slip it in the guide here. And basically we're just going to run it back and forth along the center line until it files away the radius that we need. So I'm going to get that all ready, and then I'll show you a little video of that.